This is a Super Saiyan. And this is what is known as a Super Saiyan that has ascended past a Super Saiyan.
Hello, my fellow riders, and welcome. Today, as I go over how to acquire Mizutsune and indeed Zinogre, along with that, beating and finding the invasive monsters guarding their initial eggs, and indeed then how to unlock Soulseer Mizutsune, the Deviant, and Stygian Zinogre, and then Thunderlord Zinogre, also the Deviant. Now, the reason that this is a bit of a combo is Soulseer and Thunderlord are intrinsically tied together, and you can't have one without the other. Mizutsune you can get as soon as you enter the Canal to Timberlands in Chapter 2, and Zinogre you can get as soon as you enter the desert in Chapter 3, if that changes any of your plans. In any case, though, we will start with Mizutsune as the one you can get earlier. So without further ado, let's get invasive. You want to start at the main camp in Catarax, and we're simply going to be following the river up to here, and ultimately we're going to end up in this cave. So head northwest from that camp and just continue along the water. Eventually you will reach a cliff that you can climb, and then to the left at the top will be another river that you can walk along, and that's exactly what you want to do. Make sure that it's nighttime, of course, so the invasive is actually there, and you'll notice the endemic life freaking out around you. At the end of this waterway, there will be a waterfall, and as we all know, in the sacred texts of video game rules, there has to be a cave behind every good waterfall, and indeed there is. You can head in and down, and then spend some time sneaking around the invasive to pick up the tracks. If you'd like to work out how to beat it and what's going on for yourself, then feel free to do so. Check out the timestamps below to skip to the parts you need, but for everyone else, yes, it is Invasive Shogun Senator, which is absolutely very, very cool. In any case, in order to give him a little bit of a retreat, you're going to need to buff up your defenses. So, during the fight, he will pop out his claws and try and hit you with an invasive claw attack. This is obviously monstrously powerful and is just going to kill you at this stage of the game. However, his claws are a little bit brittle. The solution here then is to have defense up large on your Monstie when he hits it. This will cause him to bounce off and shatter his claws and then run away. Now, getting defense up large at this stage of the game can be a little bit tricky, but one of the easiest methods to do so is by using the egg skill Circle Stance. This comes on a lot of Monsties, many of which you will already have from Azuria. Just get them into a non-element habitat, and then you'll get your egg skill of Circle Stance. This then will just raise everyone's defense by one stage, and it stacks. So after 3 uses, you go from small, medium, and then to large, and you have large. You can also combine it with Hunting Horn's defensive Diddy to immediately go to medium on the first turn, and then just essentially keep using Circle Stance until he targets a defense up large target with his invasive move, and then you will be the victor. After that, head into the endangered den that is spawned, your chisel and hammer at hand, and you will extract Mizutsune's egg from it. This will then hatch into your first Mizutsune, ready for reintroduction into the wild. Mizutsune then is a technical water Monstie. You've got your classic Moonlight Transience, good power, and that crit chance, which is really, really nice. Decent Wyvern Fell 2. You've got just a nice kind of high power, low-ish stamina water attack, and then you've got a nice AoE. 120 on everyone for 50 stamina really isn't too awful, and honestly, if you need a good technical monster and even that bit of water infusion, Mizutsune is a solid shout to go after. And then we have its signature Bubbly Dance for that attack up, dodge up, and regenerate. The attack up and dodge up is nice, dodge up just giving you no damage taken a lot of the time. The regenerate is less so, as things tend to be fine or just completely completely not fine with little in between, though you can have some tanky setups that do make it relevant. In any case then, let's go get Zinogre, as we need to do that before we can turn Mizutsune into Soulseer. Here then in Takuan is where we get our Zinogre Chapter 3. You want to head to this camp here on the Rococo Rocks in the East Zone, and of course make sure that it is night. Now, you can head manually over to this rock that I am looking at, flying on the various air currents, and once you do get there, there is a caravan stand for you to unlock, so you can just fast travel there if you need to leave or come back or reattempt it. While on this rock then, if you look across to here, you will see a gap to indeed cross, and you can do that with any given flying wyvern. Once you arrive, sometimes sacrificing them like a Yoshi to make it, well, this is the path to your Invasive. The endemic life will be freaking out, and you can head down and discover, honestly, one of my favorite Invasives in the entire game. This, then, is, well, as before, if you want to pick up the tracks and work it out for yourself, feel free to do so. The tracks are quite tricky to actually grab in this one compared to the path that he takes, but in any case, for everyone else, it's Invasive Odogaron, which is just, oh, he looks so cool, the, like, skull face, and his solution is actually a little bit more involved. So, on your way to Chapter 3, you will pass through the Muddled Marsh, and in the Muddled Marsh you will have to face Almudron as a required story encounter. This also then is the area you can get Almudron, and what you need to do is, well, get an Almudron. See, Almudron has the ability to put Mudblight on enemy. Almudron's also a really nice Monstie to have because it can both swim and ground dive, which does cover those two for you throughout your playthrough if you do like him. But in any case, what we care about is the Muddy Hell. It'll do water damage to all enemies and then set a trap that continuously deals water damage. This is very important. The debuff that this applies is what you need to apply to Invasive Odogaron. Now, there are other ways to get this mud, of course. You could invest in a Baroth, but Almudron, I think, is both best and easiest. So, essentially, how you handle the fight is the following. You know, manage his attacks, the damage coming in, keep the mud debuff on him. This will cool down his raging hot claws, which, again, looks so cool, and prevent them from being devastating. And then, now that they're cooled down and managed, you simply just need to break his claws. Once his claws are broken, and it's the only thing you can target, the next time he tries to use them while the mud debuff is on him, he'll instead have a little bit of a silly fall over, and that'll cause him to run away in shame, because how embarrassing, we all just watched him do that. So, hopefully that makes sense, and you can get that done smoothly. In any case, once he is gone, the endangered den will be there, and within it, post hammer and chisel, you'll find your Zinogre egg, and unlock your first baby Monstie Zinogre to release back into the wild and repopulate and get more. Zinogre then is a very powerful Monstie, speed and thunder by default, and a 70 power 15 stamina attack is just really, really good, especially with the extra paralysis that comes with it. Voltage Crash is also a solid kinship attack with a hell of a lot of Wyvern Fell if that's what you're after, and then a nice little thunder attack up buff to get to, and lastly we have Thunder Fist, which again 100 power for 30 stamina, really not too shabby. But, of course, we want to upgrade then both him and Mizutsune to their alternate forms. For Stygian Zinogre, we simply just need to release Zinogre anywhere and have his environment rank go up to A, and then Stygian will arrive. And Stygian is very, very potent. But then the Deviants. We have Thunderlord Zinogre and Soulseer Mizutsune. So for Soulseer, you need the Mizutsune in the area to be at S, which means releasing at least 5 of them, but then you need the second requirement. This mutation is said to occur in habitats where monsters that are known as bitter rivals reside. A sentence that you will see shared with Thunderlord. Resides in habitats containing one or more endangered monsters that possess enchanting purple fur and are bitter rivals of Zinogre. Resides in habitats containing one or more endangered monsters that charge the ground in their wake with electricity-imbued bodies and are bitter rivals of Mizutsune. Yes, you have to forcibly reenact that classic battle of Mizutsune and Zinogre, which on one hand is really cool and thematic. We're deviantifying them up through combat, but on the other hand, we're essentially going to go grab a load of baby Mizutsunes, a load of baby Zinogres, release them all into the same small area so they can literally fight each other brutally constantly, so they are forced to deviantify for our own benefit, which feels perhaps a little bit cruel and not, the kind of rangery, yay, environment restoration, but hey, who am I to complain? A Mizutsune Zinogre war it is on the menu. So if we head to habitat restoration, then I'm going to use the Colossal Dragon's remains, as I wanted to dragon up my initial Zinogre, and I have already released enough Zinogres into the wild here to cause Stygian to unlock, and now he's populated in the area too. That one is fairly straightforward and easy enough. Now, you can, again, do this anywhere. Remember that wherever you choose to do it will make the initial both Mizutsune and Zinogre that you get up to S rank take on the element of that area. So even if you choose a Thunder area to keep Zinogre pure, if that's what you want, you'll end up with a Thunder Mizutsune. There's no real way to keep them as standard if that's something you're after. You just need to choose an area, whack them both in, and then once you have the baby Soulseer and Thunderlord, take that to any given element area you actually want them to be, just to keep that in mind. In any case then, Dragon of course looks coolest on everything, so Dragon it is. So Stygian himself then, who was unfortunately ended up double Dragon, which is wasteful here, but it's just the area he ended up unlocking in. He has his Voltage Crash Dragon Edition, of course, the classic Dracophage shot, which is just a really, really good ability. Only 20 stamina, 70 power in the Wyvern Soul defense down. Yeah. Then you have Dragon Surge for just Dragon Attack up, but then the big one is this. 150 power for 60 stamina is really quite tasty. And actually, both Stygian and regular Zinogre have really, really good genes that can come with them. Lots of dragon stuff on Stygian, which was one of the earliest ways to get access to some good dragon genes, but also regular Zinogre has stamina genes for more stamina regen and management on your Monsties. They are good ones to have unlocked and farm as you progress through the game and get access to large and extra large genes. In any case, yeah, Stygian is great. In any case, take your prepared Zinogre Mizutsune battlefield, and if you want just a general overview on all of habitat restoration, element changing, etc., that's already up on the channel in depth for you. In any case, yes, take your Mizutsune that you have, the one that you've unlocked from the endangered, and introduce it to your prepared Zinogre battlefield. And again, the Zinogre is here by just unlocking the endangered one, releasing it here, going out, farming more eggs of the Zinogre, and then keep releasing them until they get to S rank, which also brings Stygian along. So we release this poor Mizutsune into a desert, which again feels really mean, even ignoring the small army of Zinogres immediately ready to annihilate the poor chap. In any case, we have that going, and now Mizutsunes can be found. Now, initially, we're going to immediately get that Thunderlord Zinogre, because Thunderlord only requires Mizutsune's presence and the initial Zinogre to be at its S rank, so he is now here. For the Soulseer, though, we will have to continue. But now we can get out there and grab ourselves both Thunderlord and more Mizutsunes to continue the process. You've got your two basic methods of doing this. They just go into random dens until you find one, and keep that up until you've got enough, or find an actual Mizutsune slash Zinogre, etc. in the area, and beat it, make sure to paintball it, get it to retreat, follow it to its den, and then you can get to guaranteed copies of it. The only catch is that at the stage of the game you might want to be doing this, they might end up being challenging fights, as they tend to be, especially if you want to do it with the Deviant and get lots of them in order to element change a Deviant. But you also then gain the benefit of unlocking their armor and weapons, which are very nice to have. The choice, though, is yours. So now you've got all the baby Monsties you require, get them hatched, and then, again, immediately send them to do battle with its counterpart. 4 more Mizutsunes will take it up to S, so we blah blah. 4 more Mizutsunes then get that rank up to S, causing the mutation to be possible, so we send them out, even up the numbers a little bit in this great war that we are fostering. This now with Mizutsune at the required rank and with Zinogre's presence already here will then give us this final unlock and mutation, your Soulseer Mizutsune, which is a very, very cool Monstie. Now, of course, since this package requires 5 Monsties to be part of it if you want to keep them all, well, that takes up the entire zone. Thankfully, I don't need any more Dragon Brachydios, so I will choose to just keep the Zinogres and the Mizutsune, and this can just be my Zinogre and Mizutsune farm place, because why not? Now then, we have Soulseer and Thunderlord in the zone ready to collect, so you can go and do just that, and then get as many as you need to release into any other given element location to flip them and use them as your Monsties if that is your desire. And same as before, either head into your dens at nighttime, gives a higher chance of events, so extra nests, etc., and grab yourself a Soulseer and a Thunderlord. Again, you can find them in the world, kill them and retreat them for guaranteed ones, but of course that means beating a Deviant, which is very tough of a challenge at the stage of just having unlocked them, but the rewards, of course, are plentiful. In any case, hatch your new trio of unlocked monsters to add them to your collection, your Stygian, then your Soulseer Mizutsune, who of course you have to immediately blind at birth in order to unlock the Fire Bubble Sense mode. There it is, and that's all well and good. Then we have Thunderlord, who honestly does look really, really awesome. The glowing, pulsing energy in the claws. As someone who's not a huge fan of Thunderlord's general aesthetic, well, Zinogre's general aesthetic, I can't deny the take on Thunderlord in Star Wars 3 is just amazing. The flowing energy, the hair on end, the horns. Yeah, this one is a particularly good Monstie. As Deviants, they're both high Monstie ranks, so you'll get high tier egg skills for any given element that you switch them, which is nice, and they're just powerful. Soulseer has Sublime Transius, which is a really, really high power kinship attack, coupled with getting attack up and the crit. You've got now the Fire Infused, despite Soulseer remaining a water Monstie, though we do go to speed. Fox Flame Bubbles, fairly low stamina and decent power, with also that burn on top. We've got the Groom for ailment and water attack up, so any debuff water-based monsters are going to get a lot out of this gene. And then lastly, Spiral Chaser to hit burns hard with non-element. Not the most synergistic with Soulseer, though if you do Soulseer into a water non-element hybrid, you can have quite the self-contained powerful Monstie. Then over in the Thunderlord side of things, Gigavolt Crash, obviously insane, very high. Wyvern Fell, and then the attack up after is a lovely bonus. Thunderbug Blitz, this one's just decent, 90 power, 30 stamina is not an awful ratio, but not incredible either. We've got Ultra Voltage, which is a lot of thunder attack up to the user. This one's just good to have on essentially any Thunder Monstie, so very much worth unlocking. And then Thunder Call, which is the Thunder version of the many elemental attacks, which is super high power, but it's random who it hits and by how much for 50 stamina. Honestly, in terms of raw strength, the Stygian might have it beat, but of course Thunderlord as a Deviant's got a lot going. Lastly then, if we have a little check, we've got Thunder Soulseer. Not my favourite one, neither is Ice, honestly. Dragon, certainly not bad. And then on Element, which I actually really do like with Soulseer. Though I do think Fire might be my favourite contrast, or honestly, just the base coloration. When it comes to the Thunderlord side of things, all of them look amazing because of the glowing, flowing power, hair, etc. Ice there looking great, Dragon there looking great, non-element honestly really, really quite cool. I think Fire is particularly amazing with the pulsing lightning contrasting on it, and then water is also just terrific. In any case, you can't really go too wrong. So that then is your Soulseer, your Mizutsune, your Thunderlord, your Stygian, and your Zinogre, unlock the Invasives behind them and getting them to deviantify each other. They are very, very, very cool Monsties and very much worthy additions to any given party. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Good luck getting them yourself, and stick around for the already a huge amount of Story 3 goodness already up and the many more to come. For now then, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.